Well, happy 93rd birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um,
93.
how does it feel? And what does your music making look like these days in your 90s?
What is my what?
What does your music making look like these days, in your
Oh,
90s?
I'm more decomposing. Hey, that's all I can say. I'm
Yeah.
kind I don't have the muse anymore.
Oh, you don't have the muse anymore. So it
I,
comes and goes. And was it with you your whole life though? I mean, were there periods where it went away and then it came back, or is it just gone for the first time?
I think I always had a reason to write a piece. It was either commission. It's like George and Ira Gershwin were standing on a corner in New York one time. The guy was asking him a bunch of questions. And then he said, "What comes first, the music or the lyrics?" And they said, "The the check,
Like the commission, huh?
a contract." That's what they said.
Yeah.
So
But
you asked
you
me
but you
what?
had some original music a few years ago, right? Maybe 2 or 3 years ago for your 90th.
Yes, a
Hmm.
few. No, I
But no,
don't remember the program, but there was a piece for that closed for piano four hands, and it was a comical piece because they started at piano four hands, and then she gets a phone call, the bottom player, and she picks up the telephone and leaves the keyboard. And the other gal is sitting there, and this gal is talking on the phone while she's playing, and she moves to the left while this one is talking on the phone. Then she hangs up, puts the phone back down on the other side of the piano, sits down, completes the piece.
okay. And are you still thinking in music, these days? Does music still pass through your head?
Yes,
Hmm.
it does.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of music still. We
Hmm.
USC.
Do you have melodies that still pop in your head or rhythms that pop in your head that you could potentially put on paper?
Um, Not as much now,
Hmm.
you know.
And back in your heyday when you were composing all the time, where do these ideas come from? How do ideas happen, first off?
That's a hard one.
Hmm.
That's a pretty hard one to answer. It's it's a kind of thing that composers can do, but nobody else can do. I don't know. It's hard to answer that question. Where do the ideas come from? What's that?
One can't know everything. Can one?
No.
That's
Hmm.
coming.
Who is that?
That's Siri coming in. I don't know why.
Here.
It
Siri
seemed
coming in, huh?
something that sounded like Siri, so it prompted something there for you. But you can ignore it.
Guess we
Oh,
said Siri by accident, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where do musical ideas come from?
Hmm.
That's a good one. I had recently a wonderful thing happen because Jenny made it happen. She was talking to her conductor down there of the St. Mark,
Hey, Luke's.
St. Luke's,
Hey,
okay,
Luke's.
St. Luke's Orchestra down in Long Beach, and she said, "I'd like you to know about my dad's music." He didn't know anything about it, and so he picked a piece to do on this program because he was doing something by um, oh, what's the name of
Storms.
what's the name of the American?
John Philip Sousa. Oh, John
Yeah,
Philip.
John Philip Sousa.
Mm.
And so he looked at my catalog. He's wondering what he could do by me, and he picked Sousa Fernalia,
Mm.
the name I gave it.
That's one
And
of your pieces. Yeah.
yeah, and I used a lot of his melodies, but turn them upside down and sideways and backwards, like we do when we do write variations. And it really went well. That wouldn't have happened had Jenny not been in his orchestra and be
Hmm.
able to tell him about it.
Well, how does the composition process happen? Does it start with an inspiration like that? Does it start with a commission? I mean, but where do these how do you actually get something on the page? I mean, does it start with rhythm? Does it start with a melody? How does that work?
It it starts with either, well, it never starts with a rhythm. It always starts with a melody for,
Hmm.
for me. And too bad there isn't melodic writing in classical music these days. It's more clusters of sound and mood and so on. I'm kind of out of that. I'm very much in the traditional uh, melodic writing and harmonic back, background. So I'm old hat in that. Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to turn this off. I have it off.
No problem. You're a busy person. Well, probably a birthday call or something. A happy birthday
Oh,
call.
you know what it is? It's a huh?
Turn off your alarm.
Yeah, no, it's a snooze. A
Oh,
snooze.
oh, gotcha.
I,
So,
I, I
so you put the melody down first, or you come up with a melody, and that's the inspiration for a piece. But so where do these melodies come from? Do they just pop in your head when you're going about your daily life, or do you have to kind of come up with them? Do you have to sit down at a piano and come up with a melody, or do they just pop in your head?
they pop in my head more than sitting down and making them up at the keyboard. Uh,
Hmm.
I usually have something written down that I write. When you have a good melody, that's really important, and it becomes the source of all the music that comes after that because you tie everything into that melody. The melody gets you through all the changes of tempos and textures. It's really the basis of my music.
Hmm. And,
So
and
where
where do where do you think those melodies come from? I mean, what's the source there? Is it
you're not,
just
you're, you're not going to give up on that question.
I really want to know, like, where do they really, where do the, is it just is it a result of music that you've consumed throughout your life and it's kind of, then it gets rearranged in your head and then it comes out? Or is there some larger source that's kind of pumping these things through your head? You know?
Larger source,
Yeah.
larger source,
Yeah.
because I'm inspired by something that happens, or I hear something, and then I write something down. It reminds me of something, but they're usually they're usually unique melodies that
Yeah.
that nobody else wrote them. So
Hmm. And in terms of working, I mean, would you have a set schedule? Meaning, I would, you'd sit down and write at 9 a.m. sharp, or would you wait for inspiration to strike until you started working?
that's a good question. When I was writing my two operas, I went up to my studio about 5 a.m. and then at 8 I went down and fixed breakfast for my wife and me, and then I went back up. So I started early. I could get 3 hours in with no interruption. That
Mm,
was very important because that was I had performances of them coming up, and I had to meet the deadline. So I really worked hard, fast, and they just rolled out. You know, the text. I mean, one of them was text by Oscar Wilde, "The Importance of Being Earnest." It's funny. I wrote both my operas on English playwrights.
mm,
But
yeah.
the funny thing about that is that the second one, Hobson's Choice, that was written by an Englishman, but it premiered in New York. That was curious.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was a big inspiration, and I was in the right place at the right time because I had a producer who was an excellent soprano. She sang in both of these operas, um, and I had an orchestra that I got. The first opera used only piano.
Back to that story of you composing that opera from 5 to 8 every morning. So it really, there's nothing like a deadline, right, to to make work happen.
Right.
That's really that's the best medicine, really, in a sense, right?
Yeah, you need time that you know there's not going to be any interruption.
Hmm.
Nobody's up by 5 anyway.
Yeah. So
So
you're kind of a person that you needed a deadline, you needed a project to really get going. It wasn't about inspiration, just random inspiration, right? It was really like you had projects that you needed to get done at a certain time.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I met the deadline.
Yeah, I met the deadline. Yeah.
I didn't, it wouldn't get performed, right?
Hmm.
But I had luck there because it's one of the reviewers of one of the operas It was the one Ernest Worthing that he wrote. This was really um, what would I say? A wonderful comment. He said, uh, "One can't tell the seams where Oscar Wilde ended and John Biggs started."
Mm,
He said that my musical language and the transitions from songs to just music was magic. You know,
beautiful.
yeah, mm,
Yeah.
nice comment.
Yeah, really.
I love Oscar Wilde anyway.
Yeah.
He
So
would have
yeah, so were you happen to you were reading Oscar Wilde at the time when that commission came through and then you decided
had Oscar Wilde in my mind a lot because of the way he was treated by the English, having been a homosexual.
hmm
Tchaikovsky was lucky; nobody knew he was homosexual.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
look at people that don't like homosexuals. They listen to the Nutcracker, don't they? That's
hmm
a homosexual, for God's sake.
hmm Great piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was in your head at that particular time. So and in terms of, and I imagine being a composer, you need a certain oral imagination, meaning you need to really be able to hear these pitches in your head, right? Clearly. Like, what kind of detail are you hearing in your head before you write things down? Are you hearing timbres and different instruments, and how do you make a choice in terms of what should be on which instrument and so on and so
Orchestration comes later. The music comes first, and then you fit the orchestration to the music.
forth? Hmm.
So if you're going to choose, and also the instrumentation needs to be compatible with the subject matter. If it's gentle and beautiful and romantic, the composer goes to strings for those things.
Hmm.
It's hard to do those with the winds and brass,
Hmm.
like string. But the orchestration comes after everything. I mean, Mozart gave his stuff to orchestrators, and film composers give their music to Elmer Bernstein gave his music to people that did the orchestration. Saves a lot of time.
Hmm.
I lived on Elmer Bernstein's property for about 2.5 years, and I wrote a lot of music. And I had just been through a divorce, and I wrote a big piece for tenor and string orchestra on various tracks. I wrote my violin concerto there. I wrote my mass there, and a really good wind octet. By the way, last night, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Moaning Frogs. You ever heard of that group?
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah, I saw that. Did you go to that concert?
yes, it's
Yeah.
you and you being a bassoonist would love this. The guy that plays the heaviest instrument, contrabass saxophone. There's six sax players, and they're all virtuoso. And so towards the end of the concert, they're getting more frivolous, and he goes off the stage, gets his one cycle, what do you call it, uni bike.
Unicycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have a handlebars, but you can hold an instrument. And he holds this big contrabass, and he goes around them while they're singing as a accompaniment, around and around and around.
Unbelievable.
Not bothered at all. He just plays all the way through.
That's dangerous. Wow. What a,
It is. You'd think so, but he's confident.
yeah, he knows that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Wow.
he knew he could do it.
So that was a good one, huh? That was a good concert. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, there are other inspirations for composers because they have composers that they like, and they're inspired by those composers.
hmm But when you hear a melody, and you have a melody that pops in your head, how do you decide if this is going to be a woodwind trio, an octet, a string quartet? How do you decide which instruments are going to perform that melody?
Well, I I I do make that decision very early. Um, but the person that's going to play that piece, if it's a flautist or a saxophone player, you know what? I don't have any saxophone music in my catalog.
Mm,
I'm
none?
so guilty about that.
Yeah.
These guys are virtuoso, and I have not one piece for sax. And sax sextet, it's like an organ. I mean, they're just fantastic sound. Um, but anyway, what was the question?
Uh, then that can be your project for your when you turn 93, right? As in your 93rd, 94th year, I guess. But
Oh
what,
yeah, I know that.
yeah. But
No.
how would what do you decide? How do you decide which instruments play your melody? You know, so you have this melody that pops into your head. How do you decide what you're going to write it for? If it's going to be a string quartet, a woodwind trio, you know, and so on and so forth. How do you decide that?
Well, I don't think I ever write uh, for a non-existing ensemble.
Hmm.
I ever have done that. It's a wind quintet that asked me to write something. They asked me to write it, and they give me the instrumentation. Uh,
Okay.
and if I get a what do you call it, a commission from an orchestra, then the instruments are predetermined.
Hmm.
Within that piece, I have to make a decision on what kind of instrumentation I have throughout that piece. So it's
Just
usually dictated by what's available.
just whatever works. So there's nothing about a melody, a certain melody that, you know, maybe would fit better on a flute versus a clarinet or whatever. It just it really depends on the situation, right? Whatever you need to be doing at that point.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And how can one improve their oral imagination? You know, how can one improve the amount of music in their head or the clarity of the music in their head? How do you get better at that, at hearing things better in your head?
I always hear it
Hmm.
clearly and indelibly.
Yeah.
Uh, I almost never have to change it from when I'm putting it down on paper after I have it in my head.
Hmm.
It's down exactly as I hear it. And
You've had that your whole life, pretty much, as
yeah,
long as you can remember. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
No, I think we don't have really the greatest artists or the greatest composers. That doesn't exist. It's hard to say who's the greatest. But I would say the closest to that would be Tchaikovsky
Hmm.
because he wrote opera, he wrote symphonies, he wrote chamber music, songs, and he just did a beautiful job on all those genres, you know. And he also could write a good fugue, and he was an exceptional talent.
Yeah. Big fan. Yeah, his melodies too are just unbelievable.
And I was talking to Sandra, my partner, about she was saying, well, she doesn't like all Stravinsky. And I said, what about the Rite of Spring? Well, I'm not sure. She's kind of up in the air about that. I said, well, here's what Stravinsky means to composers. He means, how the hell did he get that idea? How did he get those rhythms? How did he think of those things?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, the complexity is unbelievable.
they were fantastic, and they all came from his brain. The brain is an amazing.
And speak, yeah, man. And speaking of him, on your website, there's a picture of you with Stravinsky. Uh,
I,
tell us about that photo.
I have a story about that photo.
Yeah.
Um, my wife and I, about 10 years ago, we invited an erudite couple that were living in the same mobile home park because he had been an ambassador to some country for England. And I thought, well, they'd be well educated. And so we invited them over for dinner. And we have the picture of me and Stravinsky talking to each other there. She's looking up at the picture. She said, John, that's you, isn't it? Yes, I said that I was about 29 then, a long time ago. And uh, she said, well, who's that you're talking with? And I said, Stravinsky. And she said, is he a musician too?
But
My wife and I sat there. We
yeah,
didn't know what to say.
yeah. Well, what's the story behind that photo? Where did that take place? That was
It was in a recording studio in Hollywood, and Stravinsky was there, and Robert Kraft, the guy that kind of became his friend toward the end of his life. And as far as I'm concerned, Robert Kraft, being a serialist and 12 toner, took Stravinsky into that field, which I don't think he should have, because Stravinsky's 12 tone pieces are not very good.
Hmm.
But anyway, oh, where was I going? I
Oh,
do.
and were they recording his pieces that day?
Yes,
Stravinsky's
I'm
pieces that day?
sorry. It was
Hmm.
choral. We were recording choral music by him.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't have much of. And
Okay.
this Trenny was one of the ones, and oh, well, they were pieces for a cappella choir without accompaniment. And I said to myself, as a composer, nobody will ever sing these these choruses. They're too difficult. We all were excellent musicians, could read anything, and so he had the best of the best. We could do it, but the choruses around the country would never ever tackle those pieces.
Yeah,
Sadly,
his music is very difficult. You're right. So
well, that was. I mean, Intimate wrote a mass, and it's just terribly difficult, and it almost never gets performed.
hmm. Did you have any other interactions with Stravinsky during that period, or was that the only time that you had met him? Or
I went to his house, which was off Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. I went to his house because, let's see, why did I get in there? I think Sally, my wife at that time, Sally Jerry, um, was friends with Robert Kraft. And she said, John, they're going to Stravinsky's house to record, to practice this stuff. I can get him to let you in. And so I got into Stravinsky's house. I remember looking over his library, his book library, and there was Marcel Proust was one of the writers. Um, I might remember the other writers as we talk, but I was just fascinated to be in his house, see how he was, and meet Vera, his wife. She was much bigger than he was,
oh, really? He was a tiny guy, right? Yeah.
very small.
Yeah.
I knew him well enough to Greg Smith, who had the Greg Smith Singers, and I were at a concert at Royce Hall in UCLA, and Stravinsky was conducting. Well, we were recording, we were performing Les Noces, which is a big piece for four pianos, percussion, and so on. And then we went back to meet Stravinsky. He was in his dressing room, and this is a personal story, but he had a hernia, and was having trouble getting his pants on. We helped him.
You helped
We
him. You helped Stravinsky put his pants on.
Yeah, I know. That should go down in the annals of history.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What was he like as a man, just being around him?
Oh, he had a very very big bass voice, and he was a small man, but he spoke like that and with complete authority. Uh,
Hmm.
One time, I was practicing with my John Biggs consort, and we were doing a Machaut mass. Guillaume de Machaut was writing music in the Middle Ages, and my ensemble specialized in early music. Anyway, Stravinsky walks in because they're going to have a rehearsal there in about half an hour. And he walks in and he hears me with these four singers, and he goes like that
Uh-huh. Wow.
because he loves early music. He loved my show actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It meant a lot to him to walk into a room and hear a medieval piece being rehearsed. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So he was pretty active at that point, getting his music performed and still composing and everything, and that's what he was doing. Yeah.
he did. He was pretty active all the way through his life.
Hmm.
When he changed completely to neoclassic, after the Rite of Spring, then the First World War came, and he kind of backed out, and then he came back and he started writing neo Baroque music, and they had forms that the Baroque composers used. And that was an inspiration for him. And he made a complete change in style.
Mhm.
Uh, but, the three ballets that he wrote are just a part of our world music history. They really are.
Yeah, I
It,
know.
Look, he did Firebird, and then he did, oh, there's the picture.
There's the photo, yeah. Here's the photo of we have Stravinsky on the podium and John Biggs off to the side there in the striped shirt. Amazing.
And
Yeah.
that woman said, she said, who is that? And I said, Stravinsky. And she said, is he a musician too?
That very photo, right?
That was funny.
Yeah. Well, do you have any advice to give to composers or musicians on the upwards trend? What advice would you give to young musicians or composers?
I would give him advice to try to do film music.
Yeah.
I might have done it many years ago, and I didn't. I asked Elmer Bernstein about it, and I went with him to a recording session to start meeting people in the industry, but it never came to pass. My 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 break in through film composing, and I didn't really want to do it because I didn't want to write music that was in background.
Yeah.
I have a piece called foreground music, and it's a piece for wind instruments, you know, and people had to think about it before they realized what I was what I was saying there. Foreground music, and I felt that way about that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more thing here for you. How does one actually get their music performed? Talk about this connections aspect of being a musician. What is the it's part of the job, right? To build connections and build relationships with other musicians. How does that work and how does one do it well?
Well, the most wonderful one was the one that my daughter just got me into. Otherwise, that conductor would never have heard of me and never bothered about looking at my website.
Hmm.
It, so that was nice. The other way to get your music performed is it's usually a matter of having somebody ask me for something. I
Hmm.
don't think I've ever written in a complete vacuum where I didn't have any possibility of performing. I
Hmm.
was lucky. I almost always had somebody that was ready to play whatever I wrote.
Yeah,
Uh,
so every one of your compositions pretty much is a result of a project that somebody asked you to take part in. And yeah. And so you
or a couple, somebody in Santa Barbara, I wrote my longest piece, which is The Web of Life. It's about 50 minutes long, and it calls for chorus, soloist, children's chorus. It's a big piece, and it almost never gets performed. But that was really inspired by the ensemble and the conductor who liked my music, you know.
yeah.
And so it premiered in Santa Barbara in the 70s, I guess.
Mm,
Big piece, good piece. It's on Native American texts.
mm.
Inspiration.
Some Shumash texts.
Oh no, that's another piece. Web of Life.
Mm.
That's what Web of Life. That was another big piece. That's the one that's based on Indian texts.
Oh, great. Yeah. So you really do have to put yourself out there and meet more people, and then more projects will come your way because more people know about you, right? It's just you can't be
Yeah,
isolated. Yeah.
yeah, but I have uh, conversations with my partner Sandra, and her last name is, get this, Briggs. Too
Briggs and
big.
Biggs.
Every time we're on a trip, they get us mixed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have big conversations about um, how I've become content with people discovering my music after I'm gone.
Hmm.
That's what I've accepted now
Hmm.
because I know it's good.
Yeah.
Um, this has to wait. I mean, there are other composers that look at Bach. His music died after his sons took over, and CPE Bach is a wonderful composer, And then the whole thing changed to classical form, Mozart and so on. And it was Bach was gone. And then somebody finds a thing of his called B minor Mass. And who was it that found it? And found it in an attic or something. Brought it to Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn looked at it. Who is this guy?
Hmm.
He's,
It seems to be the case, doesn't it? Composers, they get their due after they're gone almost uniformly, right? With a few exceptions, of course, but yeah.
there are a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad
I'm
it has to work that way, but it is reality, right?
Yeah, and I'm content with that. It doesn't bother me.
Hmm.
It'll either happen or it won't.
Yeah.
Uh, your piece, my pieces are done all over the world, really well, the Western world. Well, no, there's some done in Asia. Uh, but a little performance of a piece in Korea one time by a really good violist. Um, Maybe somebody heard that piece and would do it again or something. It's a very small, narrow avenue, but the avenue will get bigger as time goes by.
Hmm.
But,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. And your music is great. I really enjoy playing it every single time. It's always a pleasure, honestly.
that was an early piece, that trio.
That trio, yeah. That was from the 1950s, I think, right?
The student at UCLA.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, your music is very accessible. It's one of those it just sounds good. It's not a difficult to listen to. It's just pleasing to the ears. But it's you can tell it's good as well. It's not you know,
Yeah.
it's
No,
great.
a lot of the reviews have used the word accessible.
Yeah, which is
Uh,
what we need nowadays.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
And not way out there where nobody can understand it.
exactly.
That's
So,
where, that's where melody comes in.
yeah, exactly.
Makes it makes you familiar with a piece because of the melody.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks, John, and I'll let you get out of here. And I hope you have a very happy 93rd birthday tomorrow and enjoy yourself. And it was great seeing you.
Yeah. Oh, there's Adrian and there's Jenny.
Good to see you both. Thanks for helping out.
Can we put in a little plug that his Sousa Fernalia is going to be played again on October 26th?
Great. Yeah, we got you. We got you saying that. So I'll put it
Okay,
in the video.
okay, and it's at 2:30 at St. Luke's Orthodox Church in Garden Grove. It's free and open to the public.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, that would be great if we could get some more people. And he and Dad will be there. He will be
Yeah,
there.
great. And we'll try to get your music performed in Ventura again soon. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
we enjoyed doing it last time. So, yeah. Well, thanks, John.
It's